Okay, well, today we're going to talk about the P word. You know what the P word is? It's politics. So, politics, it's really in the air lately with the election season. And it reminded me of when I first came here to the Abbey. I was moving from the Washington, D.C. area. I had worked for the federal government, and I studied government and my graduate degree. And I was so looking forward to getting away from politics. I was like, oh, finally, I'm going to a place where they don't care about mundane concerns and squabbles and all that worldly stuff. And lo and behold, the first kind of crisis that I encountered living in the Abbey was the 2016 election and all of the hoopla around that, and then all of the chaos and drama that has followed ever since. So I would say I haven't been able to close the door on politics, no matter how much I was looking forward to that. And Venerable Children, thankfully, is a great example of how to watch politics with a constructive state of mind. And she's really good at keeping us informed because it is part of our monastic training not to watch too much news, at least during the first few years of our training, because at that time our mind is still really accustomed to responding to news with anger or attachment. And it's difficult to keep kind of this equanimous mind that I'd say only lately I've been able to develop just a tiny bit more. But yeah, it's still a long ways to go. I always thought that monastics should talk about social issues that have ethical dimensions. I think that is really important. But up until quite recently, I wasn't really equipped with tools to be able to watch world affairs and politics so that it became a cause for wisdom and compassion instead of more hatred and confusion. So then I didn't want anything to do with it. I said, I just can't handle it. But finally, during this last debate, there was put to the test, and I could finally see, oh, I'm not getting so self-righteous when the candidate I like makes a score. And I'm not like totally shutting my ears down when the other person who I'm not so supportive of, gets a point or something. And then the reason that I'm talking about this today is that somebody wrote into the Abbey recently, and they are anticipating a lot of people being upset by the outcome of the presidential election, given that the country's fairly divided. It's inevitable a group of people won't be happy with the outcome. And he suggested that the Abbey put together like a playlist of videos about anger and depression and how to deal with political events. And it got me to thinking, what am I doing in my own practice now when I watch politics that has been helpful? And someone in this chain of emails said the four immeasurables, the four immeasurable thoughts of love, compassion, joy, and equanimity. And I actually do think that's a fantastic way to keep the mind balanced when watching the news or anything that's going on with other human beings, to sort of set that as the motivation right up front, and then at the end review the four immeasurables so that we can have this more balanced, more open-hearted approach to what we encounter, because there is a lot of difficult messages that come through the media, and there's no shortage of suffering and tragedies and destruction. And my heart has tended to just shut down in the past when I hear about bombings and invasions. And I know that emptiness and impermanence is really the best antidote for trying to keep a balanced mind when hearing about world events, but there's a component of the heart that the four measurables really helps with. It helps me to keep my heart open. And the one that is most helpful is equanimity. And equanimity has always been my favorite immeasurable. But until recently, I don't think I fully understood everything it involved. When I first heard about equanimity, I just thought of, oh, it's being calm and non-attached. And it just stops there. And that's certainly involved, but equanimity, like the other measurables, they contain components of each other, so that equanimity is still very much open to and can be infused by loving kindness, compassion, and joy. And it actually goes really well together. And equanimity is also a precursor to bodhicitta. So it really takes home the message that all sentient beings are equal in having suffering but not wanting it, and wanting to be happy and being continually frustrated in their attempt to get it. And it also helps us look at our own biased preconceptions of how we designate certain people friend, enemy, and stranger, and how those things are really not so rational at times. And most importantly, equanimity recognizes that all sentient beings have Buddha nature, which means that all sentient beings are able to completely purify their minds of negativities and develop all the good qualities of a Buddha. So whenever I hear that someone has lost an election or didn't win a debate or something like that, it helps me to remember that, okay, well, one side has the advantage right now and the other doesn't, but that's going to change. This is totally temporary. And everyone involved is suffering in some way. So the best thing to do would be to try to keep my heart open to everybody involved, so that when the causes and conditions are right, then a solution can be found that really benefits everybody. And then the second spiritual quality that I think is really helpful for listening to world affairs without getting depressed or discouraged is joyous effort. And it's one of the 6 perfections practiced by a bodhisattva. The bodhisattva doesn't perform beneficial deeds based on expecting a result by such and such a date. In a certain sense, they're really not too concerned with results, or at least when they're going to manifest, because they're completely convinced in the law of karma, where positive actions always lead to positive effects. It just may take a while. And bodhisattvas also know that perceptions and appearances can be deceiving, and that what seems good or bad in the moment can very quickly turn into something that's favorable or disfavorable. And then, of course, their strong belief that everyone possesses Buddha nature means that they're never going to give up on anybody, no matter how messed up they may be in that one life. And they know that everyone has the seeds of love and compassion that only need the right conditions to flourish. The bodhisattva is very optimistic, but their optimism is based on reality. And in this way, they can keep going no matter what obstacles arise. So if we care deeply about a political issue and the candidate or the party that supports this issue doesn't win, we can always fall back on our joyous effort, knowing that even if it takes 100 years or more, the efforts that we put into supporting the causes we care about will bear fruit. And it may not even take as long as we thought. In the meantime, we can practice fortitude and other mind training practices that can help us be able to go even further as soon as our previous efforts do bear fruit. I'm happy to have been proven wrong many times when it comes to politics. But this has shown me that I really would like to increase my equanimity and my joyous effort, so that I can continue to be involved with the rest of humanity in a way that leads to more peace and clarity. So may we remember the 4 measurables and the 6 bodhisattva perfections while we watch news, politics, and maybe even recite them before and afterwards to keep our mind in a positive state. And maybe also regularly check the good news networks, because kindness and love is actually way more common than death and destruction. Well, not death, destruction and hatred. We only just need to look for it.